Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Picture Perfect, a movie podcast discussing reviews, news, everything in between. I am one of your hosts, Bobby Gross, and I'm alongside
your other host, Michael Batista. How you doing, Bobby?
also known as the Animal.
The Animal to
the
some.
Animal Mike Batista.
The Animal to some, yes.
Yes.
If you know me that well.
You have to be very close to Mike. You have to work with him in a playground for about 3 years, or just know him from going to wrestling
Select
shows.
NXT shows.
Select NXT
and eating
shows.
barbecue.
Yes. So, we're here. We're doing a podcast. One of millions out there about movies. But this is something that we've been talking about for a while, Mike.
Yeah, you really got me into going to movies frequently.
Yeah.
It's just be like a casual, ooh, I like to want to go see that, go there. And you really got me into going to seeing everything, especially with AMC A-List. So,
Which has been a savior for us.
Oh yeah. I would not be doing this many movies if it wasn't for that. And it's like a buffet. At a certain point, you're making money instead of like losing it. You know.
And also, when we were working together, or even before that, when we were just hanging out, we would always have these kind of deep dives into movies and give our thoughts about them. So I figure, why not put it to audio, let other people listen, and maybe we can, bring some. Discourse to movies that maybe aren't always have a light on them.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to be doing big blockbusters every week. Sometimes we'll do the smaller movies, especially towards the end of the year when it becomes award season, and you get these small films that you'll hear about next year when Academy Award nominations come around, but maybe you'll hear about them for the first time on this show, which is one of the goals, I would think.
I would think so, too, especially with your taste of movies and like your just complete deep dive into it.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where you see stuff, and I would love to see you just trying to explain it to me and hook me on it.
Yeah, you see some really wild independent films. I watch too many movies. That's what it is, and essentially.
Like, I remember you telling me about The Lobster, and I go,
yeah, it's a great movie.
And I go, you like this movie? He goes, yeah. And you went, yeah. And I go, you just explained the plot without spoiling it, and I was just kind of, okay.
It's that movie especially is very trippy, but that's the thing though, because now that we have this kind of platform, I don't have to just tell you about these movies. That could be one of the reviews that we do on the show.
Oh yeah.
We can bring attention to it to whoever's listening right now. It might be nobody. Who knows? This might be a flop.
Throw a bottle in the ocean, see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. This is like putting a little message in there, seeing if anybody finds it years later.
Yeah.
But, so what we're trying to do on this podcast, most weeks we're going to have at least one big review of a newer movie. Sometimes if there's not really anything coming out, we'll maybe review a classic movie, maybe one that's smaller that has come out that, not too many people have talked about, or we'll do what we're doing today, which is a list. So today we're doing the top 10 favorite movies of the year so far. It's, as of recording, it is July 13th, so we're about a little bit halfway through the year. And going over these lists, it seems like there's a big differential in movies that we've both seen as far as numbers-wise. Yeah. But that's the thing. With this show now, Mike will see more. I'll see probably the same amount. But, Mike...
If there's ever a point where I see more than you, there's a problem.
There is a problem.
Yeah.
Right now,
how many movies have you seen so far this year?
This year, I've seen 38 movies.
Okay.
Now, that's just newer releases.
Yeah.
I try to watch as many movies during the week as I can.
Yeah.
But for newer releases, I have 38. Last year, I believe I was just shy of 100. I hit about 98. So I'm a little behind right now. I'm a little disappointed in myself.
You'll pick it up.
I'll pick it up eventually, especially towards the end of the year, like I said, with awards movies. But Mike, how many movies have you seen this year?
I've seen 11 movies. 11 movies. Originally, when I just started with Letterboxd, which for some reason they had a HBO miniseries on there. So originally I had Chernobyl on there, but I'm like, you know what, that shouldn't count, even though it's amazing. So I'll just take that off the list. I've seen in total 11 movies. And of those 11 movies, I've only seen one I consider bad.
So that's a good ratio.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, because because those are movies, for the most part, that we went to together.
Yeah.
I would rarely go to a movie that I know is going to be bad. I'd rather not waste my time.
See, that's the difference between you and me. It's like, if I had a group of friends and we wanted to have a good time, I could totally see us saying, let's go see the Emoji Movie.
That's true. And now with the podcast, that might happen more often.
Yeah.
Because, maybe we need to break up the great movies that we review on here with a real stinker.
Hey, I got an idea. Let's go, it's like, I got a great idea. Let's go see this A+ classic, and after go see Pixels.
Yeah. So that could happen here. We might get some real stinkers eventually. Yeah. But for now, and like we said, we're doing a top 10, so Mike has seen 11 movies. So, take the bottom 5 maybe, or bottom few with a grain of salt, because they might not be that great. But just because, you've only seen 11, it might not meet the standards of what a top 10 usually is.
The way I put it was like, my list is pretty much from great to okay. Right. It's not from, like, great to bad, because like I said, most movies I've seen with you, so the ones I haven't seen with you are ones that we both saw independently because they were like top tier.
Yeah.
And of that, like, there are 2 animated movies in the top 10 and like 3 superhero movies. So like, there are a lot of the general ones.
And we'll be getting to that shortly, but what we're going to try to do when we open the show is talk about the news of the week. And there was not too much going on. We have a few stories, and we'll start off with what I think is the biggest story, which was the new Mulan trailer, which is one of the latest Disney live-action remakes of one of their classic movies.
Live action. This one's actually live action.
This is live action. The movie that we'll actually be reviewing next week, which is The Lion King, is also one of the newer remakes, which is arguably not live action. It's still animated.
Well, they took
It's
shots.
not like the Jungle Book, where there was Mowgli and everything else was CG.
Yes.
This has, from what I understand...
The trees may be live action.
Maybe, but even that, I wouldn't think so. I have no idea. I'm calling it an animated movie still, but...
Ever since The Good Dinosaur, it just seems like animated movies the backgrounds can look so real. So,
it's true.
Who knows?
And what The Lion King is going for is the photorealistic kind of look for it. But that's next week. We'll get into that in the next episode.
I really don't want to watch that movie. We'll figure it out. Yes, Mulan.
We'll figure it out. But we just watched the Mulan trailer. I had watched it before. Mike didn't see it. We don't know what we thought of it. So, Mike, your thoughts on this new Mulan movie that will be dropping next year?
So, I've always liked Mulan. But it's not one of my top Disney movies. It's just like a solid movie. It's not one that I saw a lot as a kid, but I can appreciate as an adult.
And that movie was kind of later in the Disney Renaissance, in the 90s, right? It was along the lines of Hercules and Tarzan, like the late 90s, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like 96 or something like that.
And I grew up with the stuff that was, before that, like 101 Dalmatians, Lion King, even, Little Mermaid when I was on.
Of course, and Aladdin, which we missed. That would have been interesting to review, even though you haven't seen it, right?
I only saw, like, the last 30 minutes because I was waiting for a movie to start. I was like, I want to see how bad this looks. And I was like, oh, Jafar is awful. But anyway, so Mulan, to me, seems like, of the classic Disney movies, and when I say classic, the ones like the classic animated ones, Mulan seems like the best fit for live action, in my opinion, because there's so many battle scenes. It's very grandiose. It could be a musical. It just seems like there's a lot of character development. There's a lot of area for it to be live action.
Right.
That being said, when I saw the trailer, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not hating this. I'm just wondering that, and I saw not backlash, I saw the discourse from it. I know I said the word before, but I mean, I saw people on social media discussing it, how there's no Mushu, and how there's no this or that, and
also there's, it's not going to be musical, apparently. All the music from the original movie is going to be instrumental, it's going to be score. You're not going to see Mulan breaking out into song, I don't think. That's what I think has been confirmed. So you're not going to have that kind of musical element.
See, then it's not even a remake to me. Then it seems like it's like a
reboot.
It's like a reimagining.
Reimagining, sure, yeah.
And I'm gonna say this probably has the best chance to be a decent movie. But the problem with all these remakes is that they if you took away their original movie, they're pretty shallow. Because, like, if you look at the last 30 minutes I saw of Aladdin, I can instantly tell you that the songs that came up, they were redone. But then in the background...
And also that newer Jasmine song.
Yes, but in the background is the original score. So I'm like, you're tapping into the feelings of the movie that I saw as a child and loved it, but you're also doing your own thing. But if you took away the fact that, like, if you took away the fact I saw the movie as a child and, like, that music to me was neutral, I would just say 4 or 5 out of 10. Yeah. But, like, now I'm invested... And it's just that
I bring that emotional attachment to the movie.
So if you're gonna say Mulan's not gonna have the mascot character, and it's not gonna have the musical aspects, it's just gonna be straight story. And the story is pretty good in Mulan.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say, like, that's good. That's probably, depending on how it turns out, bare minimum it could be a 6 out of 10. But if you're adding in, like, the background music of "I'll Make a Man Out of You," it's like, okay, you might now jump to a 7 unnaturally.
Just because you have those memories of watching it as a kid and it kind of rushes back to you, even though you're not seeing it in the same situation. You're still hearing that familiar music that you've been hearing all of these years later after the movie was released.
Yeah, you're not seeing a movie point blank. You're not getting it naturally. You're pretty much going to feel that it's something else. You could be watching something and just feel it's something else. Yeah. And you might need to, like, take a step back and, like, reevaluate it. And that's why I think... Especially when you tell me it's not going to be a musical, but it's going to be in the background, I feel like that's going to kick even more now.
So you're positive on the trailer for the most part.
I think that it looks good. Like, from the 45 minutes I saw of it, like the 45 seconds to a minute I saw of it, it looks very well acted. It looks very well choreographed, and like I said, I feel like this is the best chance they have to do live action, just because like. It's better than 101 like CGI Dalmatians or
which they're also doing a Cruella de Vil movie shortly.
They already
with Emma Stone.
They already did a live action remake of 101 Dalmatians years ago, so they can't do it again. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I think that I would see this in theaters and not feel bad about it like I would if I was to go see Lion King or Aladdin, where I'm like.
Well, get ready, buddy. We're seeing Lion King next week. So
when we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like this trailer, and the big problem that I've had with these live-action remakes is they don't really do anything different from the originals, the original animated films. There's certain aspects to the movies that they change, but overall, it seems like. I'm not going to say that they're cash grabs because literally every movie is a cash grab.
Every film's objective is to make money.
They're all money makers. What they want the studios want these movies to be. They don't want to lose money. So I'm not going to say that these movies are cash grabs, but I would call them shallow for the most part. There's not much in them that is creatively different from the original. So. Which was my biggest problem with Aladdin. I felt like it was very similar to the original, but then sprinkled in a few new things and then changed others that didn't work. And just some of it just doesn't translate to live action. No. It's things that you can get away with in animated films that you can't get away with in live action that Disney still puts in the live-action movies that just turn me off to it.
There are 3 main aspects of that movie right away that, don't translate. It's the magic carpet, it's the animals, and it's the genie himself. Exactly. Where it's none of those things work well in live action.
And what I like about this Mulan trailer is, number one, I don't mind that they're getting rid of the music. You can make it score. I don't mind that. I don't need Mulan breaking out into song. I don't need the classic songs from the original to be in this movie sung. I like it being score. And this really comes off as an epic war movie, which I really like. We don't see that from Disney a lot, or ever. I don't remember.
Did they do last time? They did the Tom Cruise movie, didn't they?
Which one?
Didn't they do the Tom Cruise movie with him in Feudal Japan? Last Samurai?
No, that wasn't Disney.
That wasn't Disney?
No, that was some... that might have been Universal or something like that. But I don't remember any kind of live-action war movie from Disney. Off the top of my head, maybe one of you guys can correct me, but I really like this trailer. I hope it's... Because people are going to complain, right? They're complaining about Mushu, like you said, that he's not going to be in this movie. They're complaining it's not going to be a musical. I don't mind that. I welcome that. I want a different movie from the animated one, because if I wanted to see the animated movie, I would just watch it. I don't need everything to be translated into live action.
That's a very fair point. And
because what comes of that? Like, what's the big draw to it? Just seeing actual people doing the stuff that you saw in cartoon form? Like, I don't see the appeal. Like,
also, with some of these remakes, they've redone the music a bit too, so it's like not the same. People complain about that, so they go, okay, we're just gonna cut the music, and we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I still love those songs, but I can go watch that movie anytime I want.
Yeah,
I guess this could be a totally different thing, an epic war movie,
exactly.
But at the same time, you really think they're gonna jump this to PG-13?
I think they will. There's no way you can do this movie at PG. There's no way. And I'll say this is the first Disney live-action movie that, or remake, that I'm looking forward to, and pretty much dating back to, like, Alice in Wonderland. I think that would be, like, their first live-action remake that they've done. I would say this is the one...
Was that before 101 Dalmatians?
Yeah. Oh, no, after.
Okay.
Alice in Wonderland was about 2010.
Yeah, I was going to say, the 101 thing that was super weird was like early 2000s.
So, I'm positive on this. Yeah. It seems like you're pretty positive. You'll wait and see. I have more hope for it. Optimistic would be the right word. We also got some Space Jam 2 news. Don Cheadle joining the cast in the mystery role. It's been reported that alongside LeBron James, who will be the Michael Jordan of this sequel... you're going to have Anthony Davis, I believe, in this movie. You're going to have a few other... I think Klay Thompson is going to be in here.
You know how, like, the original... Like, you know how the 5 main stars, besides Michael Jordan, the 5 basketball stars who get their talent stolen in the first movie, only reason they were in that movie is because they all had the same agent.
Yeah.
And so
that's pretty much what's going on here.
Even though there are better players to do, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same sort of thing of, like, who's LeBron friends with and who's got the same or close to same agents.
Right. And we don't have any plot details yet. We don't know if this is actually going to be like a direct sequel, if the first one will be mentioned, or if it's kind of like Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, where you got Robin Williams' character like a little Easter egg in there, and it's not really connected to the original. But this could be a direct sequel somehow.
Robin Williams' character was in Jumanji.
The original Jumanji.
Yeah,
it was a little mention of his character.
Oh,
he wasn't in it, but
that's right.
They mentioned the character.
That's right.
But it's not really directly linked to the original. So that might be the direction they take Space Jam 2 in. I like the original Space Jam. Granted, I've watched it in recent years, and it doesn't really hold up as well as I thought. I mean, Michael Jordan's just a terrible actor.
He's not a good actor. He's a terrible actor. Yeah,
but it's
a terrible
fun.
baseball player.
Terrible baseball player, terrible actor, but it's a fun movie. So people might have a real attachment to the original that they don't want to see the sequel. I don't mind.
This is to be perfectly honest. When I used to go on like car trips, I remember specifically when my brother and sister were looking at colleges, and I had to go up and down the East Coast to stuff, and we drove. I would have like a little TV in the back seat, and it would a VHS player, and I would watch Space Jam a bunch. And like a bunch of my movies. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you right now that I have fond memories of Space Jam because my father and I watched it together, and it was that mix of stuff my father could relate to and stuff that I liked. When Bill Murray just comes out and
Bill Murray's great,
and like it's very cheesy and very just like on the nose. My father loved it, and because of that, I loved it.
I love Wayne Knight in that movie too.
Yes, he's great.
Newman,
he's so awesome. Good. The monsters.
And you know what's crazy too is I'm pretty sure that Space Jam like got released in like 93 or 94. So that's kind of like I was born in 94, but that movie wasn't made for us. And somehow years later, when we come to this movie, it still holds up, even though it seems like a little at the time it's more like directed towards the kids who are growing up with like Michael Jordan, the Nike commercials and stuff too, and the Looney Tunes.
Because it's based off commercial, I think it really hits the 90s. Like
it's definitely a time capsule of the 90s.
And even if you're like the 90s are now coming back to being cool. They've been back to being cool, and now we're going to the early 2000s being cool again. But like, still
not as much as I expected though. We're still stuck in like the 80s and the 90s. I'm waiting for the 2000s to really hit our sweet spot.
Yeah, we're having this weird we're in this weird place as a society where what's nostalgic, because Minecraft's nostalgic, but who knows, like, it's just everything's coming back in this weird pattern.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it's a cycle.
Yeah, but I mean, with Space Jam itself, it's timeless. It's a time capsule, but it's also Bugs Bunny and like Warner Brothers cartoons, where it's like also not just 90s. That's like early animation and like classic animation. Then you have sports, which is kind of timeless. Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. If this was about like Patrick Ewing, it wouldn't be as like timeless, in my opinion.
Yeah, nobody would know Patrick Ewing. The kids, at least the kids today, like generally, they wouldn't know who Patrick Ewing is if he was in this new movie.
So I think that because it's LeBron James, he is
who isn't. I would say he's not as big as Michael Jordan back then.
No, he's not. There's always the comparison of Michael Jordan and
in
LeBron
general,
James,
yeah.
And I personally don't think that LeBron's at Michael Jordan's hero immortal level. He's just very good and will always be remembered. It's like Sandlot, heroes get remembered, legends never die. But like, I do not think that this movie will have the same effects as the first one, just because
it's not going to have that kind of cultural impact.
It's not going to have the cultural impact unless they. Because when you try and have something as a time capsule of the 2000s, it comes off as very cringy to me.
Sure.
But if you have it, but like when the 90s did it unintentionally, it was great. But when you try and make it resonate in the 2000s, it feels like it gets outdated very quickly, and that might just because as a society we're like going very quickly through the motions.
And also, how do you make this movie a time capsule? Is like Bugs Bunny gonna floss? Like, what would they possibly do? Because I think this is coming out next year, so let's say in 2020.
Well,
like, what are the aspects of today's culture that would possibly be in this movie that would, like, kind of years from now, you'd say, oh, yeah, that was a thing that people used to do.
Vine/TikTok?
Maybe. Maybe. And also, do people watch... Do kids watch Looney Tunes anymore? Is that a thing? There was a
reboot of Looney Tunes called The Looney Tunes Show that Cartoon Network did, and it was actually pretty good. It was very underrated. I suggest you watch it if you haven't seen it. It's and that was good, but I feel like a lot of people who I see talk about it are our age. It's like how they keep trying to do Scooby-Doo, and they keep trying to make new Scooby-Doos.
Do kids watch Scooby-Doo anymore? I don't know.
They keep making new versions, and so, but those new versions only last a couple seasons, and it's like, that's gone. So, it does something, but then again, you see things like Teen Titans Go, which like is just pounding out like new episodes and a movie.
And then they had the movie, last year.
So it's like, I think that Looney Tunes will have a place with kids because they'll know it, and like maybe their parents will talk to them about it, but at the same time, it's not what's theirs. It's like how our parents might have grown up with Mickey Mouse, but not his original version. Like I can't remember the name of,
So it'll be interesting. I mean, but are you excited for Space Jam 2?
I mean, I'm not. I'm less excited about.
Or are you? Let me rephrase that. Not necessarily excited. Are you against it?
I'm not against it, just because I'm not gonna gatekeep Space Jam. I have bigger hills. I have bigger hills to gatekeep.
Yeah, bigger hills to die on.
Exactly. Space Jam is not the place I need to like waste my time on. I'll see it.
It'll be fun. I think it'll be fun.
Exactly.
But yeah, that'll be it for the news. And just in general, we're going to plug a couple things right now. We're working on getting on iTunes. Right now, you'll probably be hearing this on YouTube. It'll go up there first. We're working on getting an RSS feed, and it'll be up on iTunes, hopefully Spotify as well, maybe even Stitcher. Definitely keep track of us, all these updates on our social media pages. You can find us Picture Perfect on Facebook. On Twitter, we are at PicPerfectCast. You can find all of the updates on there. We'll always let you know episodes coming out, if we're recording or not, the topics of the following episode. So always like those pages, follow us on there, and keep track of what we're doing here. And hopefully you enjoying the show so far, right? I mean, I think we're doing pretty all right.
I think it's not a train wreck.
No, it's not a train wreck. And also, I was going to mention that, LeBron James is actually really good in train wrecks.
See, he's a better actor than Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
It's probably because that... I honestly think it's just because he's a better human being. Because Michael Jordan, he's not the best person.
Kind of a shithead.
He kind of, yes, kind of. Whereas LeBron James, when you see him doing a commercial, it's not like Michael Jordan was always Michael Jordan in commercials and stuff. LeBron James, he can be the guy in Trainwreck, he can be the guy in Sprite commercials, he can be the kid carrying his PS2 to go play GTA Vice City in hotel rooms.
That's true.
He's like very much
he's more relatable.
Multi-dimensional person and relatable.
So now, guys, we're going to shift into our main topic of this episode, our top 10 movies of the year so far. Like I said, we're in January. We're definitely not in January. We're in July.
I've seen one movie so far this year, January.
Well, that's true. So what we're going to do here is we're both going to go back and forth. We're going to go 10 through 8, and then we'll each give our 10 through 8s. We'll go 7 to 5, and then we'll go individually from the top 5.
Okay.
So 10 to 8, 7 to 5, and then 4, 3, 2, 1 individually. So, Mike, if you want to start us off, what is your number 10?
So my number 10 was Fighting With My Family, the paid biopic that WWE released earlier this year and has been promoting for, I want to say, almost a year because of how movies work and how WWE as a company works. When one of their stars is doing something, they let everyone know about it, and they say, hey, guess what? The Rock is funding this movie about one of our people. So we saw this together, and as someone who is a wrestling fan and as someone who was a wrestling fan during the peak of Paige the wrestler and sort of saw her go downhill.
Yeah. She's retired now, isn't she?
She's forced out of competition in WWE. Right. If she goes somewhere else, maybe they'll clear her, but It's
kind of like the Daniel Bryan situation.
Exactly. That's kind of giving her hope,
where
too.
he was on the shelf for a while with that concussion.
She wants to just be on the shelf, but, we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, with that, I'm not the biggest Paige fan. I like her, but there were other wrestlers I liked more than her. I did like her theme, though. Her theme was killer. But when I saw this, I was kind of expecting a meh 5 out of 10 movie just because that's what WWE Studios does. Even their best movie, Marine 1, is a 7 out of 10. It's a good movie, but it's so cheesy that it's good. And when I go into this, I didn't have high hopes. And when I was watching it, there were so many parts of just... Maybe it's because I'm a wrestling fan of... that took me out of it, really. Where it's the wrestler... where it just be in story, where it's... Why are you doing this? This is so stupid that you're doing this.
They also take liberties with the story.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there's other parts where it's she's training with 3 other women who are deliberate caricatures of other wrestlers. But that doesn't sync up in the timeline.
Yeah.
Because at the point that they're saying, oh, well, she was with Becky, or this girl that's totally supposed to be Charlotte Flair. No, she wasn't, because Charlotte Flair was younger than her.
Right. And
didn't start till she got onto the main roster.
But the layperson who saw that movie, they would have no idea.
Exactly.
So it's you're bringing your bias to the movie, which obviously isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you don't enjoy it as much because you do know what actually happened.
Yeah, and then there was also the parts where it's they film at WWE Raw to film a certain part, and I'm looking in the crowd and I see Enzo shirt, Seth Rollins solo shirt.
Yeah.
It's just all totally time desync, and I'm that's just a little thing.
But it was still a good movie.
It was a good movie.
It's just a little by the book, too.
A little by the book. The acting, there were very good actors in that movie. There was also of course, they have the friend that's blind. You gotta have
why not
the token disabled kid,
of course.
But overall, good acting. Story was just by the book, and there were things that desynced me. So I was I gave it a 5 or 6 out of 10. I wouldn't see it again.
What I got a kick out of the most out of that movie is when they do the end credits and they give you an update on where everybody is, and they go because The Rock is in it, and they give this whole thing about Dwayne went on to he's become one of the biggest movie stars in Hollywood, and it's No shit. Everybody knows about The Rock. You don't have to give an update on The Rock.
I almost feel like that was an in-joke that made it to the movie.
Well, his production company also was involved in the movie. So.
He's also in, 3 scenes.
Yeah.
And, I understand he was just, the was he the producer or something?
He was one of the producers,
It's like him and Stephen Merchant. So, and Stephen Merchant's in the movie, too.
Yeah.
And I really wanted more from him because I loved the Ricky Gervais Show podcast. Yeah. And I really wanted more from it. It turns out his wife was, the big, his on-screen wife was funnier. I'm oh, you could have been so good. Yeah. But anyway, okay movie. Won't
good
see
movie.
It.
Just
that's what
one time watch.
And that's the kind of level you're going to get with my top 10 because I
for now.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get from this point on, this point low to better.
All right, Mike. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed by this movie.
We had a big conversation about this movie. Again, if we had started this podcast maybe a month or two ago, we would have had a unbelievable recorded discussion about this movie because I have a lot of thoughts.
If I wasn't your pinch hitter, this would have been a very better discussion.
It's definitely I was disappointed in it too, but it's still again another good movie, but it just doesn't rock your socks off.
Exactly. The way I described it to you is that it felt like filler content.
Yeah.
Every John Wick movie has a antagonist in it that's specific for that movie, and the first one it's the Russian mafia, the head boss and the kid and his son. Mm-hmm. And in the second one, I forget his name, but it's the dude who he has the blood pact with.
Yeah.
In this movie, everyone is John Wick's antagonist. And maybe you could say the High Table is his antagonist, or but he doesn't kill the High Table in this movie. And, can I spoil?
Spoiler alert, maybe a fast forward about 20 seconds. Go ahead. We'll give you a warning now, but it's been out for a while.
He doesn't kill any of the bad, direct bad people in this movie. Everyone he kills in this movie is someone who's henchman in the moment.
Yeah.
And except for the sushi guy. Because that's
That's he was probably the main antagonist of the ones that he actually fought.
He's the Logic of this movie. Or not Logic. Who was the rapper who was in the last movie? Who was
Common.
He was the Common in this movie. And or the Ruby Rose.
Sure.
And both of those people did it better in the last one.
He's the spotlighted henchman, but not the main villain.
And I hated his character arc where he went from scary to nerd boy, and I'm like,
yeah, I didn't really like that either.
I mean, I get you trying to do something different, but now he's just a goober to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, end of spoilers. It felt like I could totally skip this movie, and I could if you end at John Wick 2, and if you go to John Wick 4 and you say 6 months later, I feel like I wouldn't have missed anything.
Well, also not to spoil it, but there is a big thing that happens at the end that I don't think either of us liked. A certain betrayal.
See, it's not that I didn't like that.
I personally didn't like it.
I didn't like it, but I'd be fine with it if there was no 4.
Sure.
I feel like that would have been it would have done way more world building for me, and I would have said
if John Wick actually died.
Yes.
And that would have been the end of the franchise, or they do a spin-off series.
It would have said to me that, how unforgiving this world is. You can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
The first movie has that, the opposite direction, where what's his name? Green Goblin.
Goblin.
What's the actor who is Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1, whose name's slipping my mind?
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, where he's supposed to kill John Wick in the first movie.
Yeah.
But in the end, his emotions get the better of him. He helps him, and that costs me. In this movie, if it was John Wick trusts this person and he betrayed him, and that's how it ends, it'd be it wouldn't be directly correlated, but it would just show the different ways this world works. But now it's just now you've just set up who the antagonist is in the next movie, or who the final boss is in the next movie. It's
it's very clear that they're continuing this franchise.
Yeah, and I'm kind of upset by that because the action in this movie wasn't as gripping to me as the last few.
Yeah.
And also it just felt like they relied too much on shock jumps gore to me, where there was too many scenes where it was just it made me jump back.
Here's what I'll say. You watch maybe the first 25 minutes of this movie, right up until that the knife fight between Wick and the other two guys.
The Asian henchmen.
Yeah, and
they're in Chinatown.
It goes downhill after that for me. But it's still, again, good movie. For me, it's definitely my least favorite of the three.
Oh yes.
So so that's your number 9.
That's my number 9. It was
number 8.
6 out of 10, something like that. 6
or
or
6
6
about
or 7.
right. That's about right. I would probably give it that too. Number 8.
Number 8 was Captain Marvel.
Okay, that's actually my number 9, so we'll discuss this together.
All right, so Captain Marvel to me, I actually only saw it the week I saw Avengers Endgame.
To catch up,
because I'd never seen it. I was like, you know what? Me and Bobby got me this midnight ticket for Avengers Endgame.
I did.
I need to... I can't go in missing a movie, because I had done a whole Avengers catch-up, like, over the summer using...
Yeah, you sure did.
And I like every day I'd watched another part of the MCU.
And that's about, like, 20 movies right there.
Yeah, and it was... And so, like... the only movie I haven't seen still is like the original Hulk, because I feel like I need to see the last credit scene, and they change actors.
Sure, yeah,
and
you don't really have to. And
I know how Hulk works. I'd like bomb makes guy big green. But anyway, I see Captain Marvel, and I already had heard it was kind of mediocre, but there
was also a big backlash before the movie because of some stuff that what's her name said. Brie Larson. She had made some comments about all the males getting all uptight about it.
And the thing is, I kind of went into it thinking that maybe this is like Black Panther, where it's going to be a mediocre, like an okay movie. Black Panther was okay. It wasn't mediocre. It was okay. Mm-hmm. It was pretty good.
I really like Black Panther,
and it got elevated for things that were not for me, and like very, very cultural. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe that's what Captain Marvel's going to be. Maybe it's supposed to be this pretty good to okay movie that like will be put on a bigger pedestal. But then I realized, wait, Wonder Woman hit that spot. What's this movie going to be? Yeah. And then I went to see it and I was like, it was just forgettable. Because you have Captain Marvel, who is the most OP superhero I've ever seen. And I'm supposed to invest in this person, and I'm supposed to see her come back to Earth, like realize what's going on here, realize there's something going on behind the scenes, see the main villains start to become the allies. All the while, mostly I just care about Nick Fury.
Sure.
And I'm like, I just kind of went into it. I just came out of it thinking, I only cared about Nick Fury because she literally at the end does the Simpsons, I have to go, my planet needs me, and then leaves, and she's out of the MCU until it's plot convenient.
Well, that's the problem, because this is like the OG Marvel movie as far as timeline-wise, besides like maybe Captain America. But so like they had a problem where like, okay, they introduced Captain Marvel, but where was she that whole time when they started the Avengers and everything like that? So I think that's one of the problems when you do these kind of prequels to what most of the movies are in this current timeline. But for me, I really liked this movie. I thought it was great. People have problems with Brie Larson. I thought she was fine. I thought she was actually pretty good. I think she got a bad rap. But I think the star, without a doubt, is Ben Mendelsohn in this movie as the Skrull.
Yeah.
He is hilarious.
Oh, he's very funny, and
he is so good.
He does his job very well of making you hate him, and then without even like trying or doing anything like special, just through his acting and the story and the dialogue he's given, he's able to make you like him. And it's not artificial.
And if you follow Ben Mendelsohn in his career, he is always playing villains. And you think, by watching most of this movie, you would think that he is the villain in this movie, and it turns out, spoiler, he's not.
He's not. He's the victim.
He is the victim, and that kind of the subversion of expectations is what I really like when these comic book movies, these Marvel movies do. They subvert your expectations, which is why, just a side note, I really, really like Iron Man 3. People didn't like what they did with the Mandarin because it was supposed to be a big villain in the comics.
Oh, I thought it was funny.
I thought it was great because it's a subversion of expectations, and I felt that same way with Ben Mendelsohn's character in this movie. And I just really dug what they did with Nick Fury. Like you said, he was one of the best parts as well. The action is really good. I just really, really like this movie. And although, granted, even though this is my number 9 of the year, I think it's a little bit of a weak year in general. And I would still consider this like mid-Marvel. I wouldn't put this in like my top 10 Marvel movies.
No.
But it's still a really fun time.
I should make that list. But I'm like, what I'm going to say is like the story, the actors, like all of that was great. And that's why kind of like what you said, if this was a top 10, like if I had more movies, like you would definitely see this more. But it's just like the way this turned out for me, it was like, it was great acting, like I enjoyed the story. But the thing that bothered me was that because I came in with recently seeing a lot of Marvel movies. Yeah. And I then went into this, I had fresh in my head a timeline. So there were two things that got me. One was like, she just goes, my planet needs me, to the other side of space. And I'm like, why didn't the Guardians of the Galaxy ever see her? But like, whatever. Then the second part was that it's supposed to be the OG movie. It's supposed to be the second timeline movie. Mm-hmm. Well, second and a half if you count like the Endgame like time travel. But like, it's supposed to be the second like OG movie in the timeline. But there's a problem. At the end of Captain America, we see the Tesseract fall into the ocean. Right. It just appears here, and we're just supposed to expect that they just found it. Now, it's very, when I have to stop and think, where'd they get this? Like, because it just appears in a lunchbox. I'm like, no, that's supposed to be in the Arctic. Like, because they supposed to, we found Captain America. So you found Captain America like 30 years after you found the small cube? You found a human being after you found the small cube in the middle of the ocean.
Here's what I'll say, Mike. I don't care. I don't care. I just want a good movie. You know, you're always going to have these kind of plot conveniences and everything like that. I really don't care. Personally, I know you do. Obviously, you do.
It just bothered me so much.
I get it. But, you know, I still really like the movie.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's not one of the best Marvel movies, but it's definitely a good time.
It's a good time, but kind of like John Wick 3, it feels like if this didn't happen, but like...
If you just introduced Captain Marvel in the Avengers, Endgame, it would have been fine.
It would have been fine. It would have been lazy. It would have been fine. And I appreciate them doing this. Yeah. But at the same time, this feels like, we have this timeline. Let me just put a square in here and say this happened.
Exactly.
And so that's what I mean. It's okay.
It's a nice cable watch.
6.5, 7 out of 10, cable watch. I watched on TNT.
All right, so now to get into my top 10, starting with number 10, it is Fire, which is the Netflix documentary about the Fire Festival.
Oh, I could have put that on here.
You saw that one?
I saw the Netflix one, not the Hulu one. Okay. I did like that.
I watched both. I liked this one better, just because I think it gives a better detail of what actually happened. You get better interviews, because really the Hulu one is known for interviewing the big scumbag who ran the Fire Festival, Billy McFarland. But you get some really great interviews here.
Oh, yes.
You know, the one with the whole meme where the guy had to, like...
I was fully prepared to go into that office in blank.
That comes from this movie. It's just really intriguing. It kept me interested throughout the whole thing. And like I said, I do prefer this one over the Hulu one. But the Hulu one's interesting just because you get Billy's side of things, even though he's a bullshitter. Like, he's obviously lying to his teeth. And he's also in jail.
He's literally in a white-collar jail. I remember he's in the same jail as Mike the Situation.
Yes, he is. And they're friends.
They are?
They are friends.
Oh, I'd love that. I would love that as an MTV show. Can you imagine?
Why don't you put that on, what is it, the Jersey Shore Family Vacation, whatever the hell's going on right now.
I would just want a live stream of them in the same cell, just like them just bullshitting ideas.
That would be interesting too.
But
but yeah, I mean, it's a really good documentary, and you said you watched this, right?
So
where would you put this?
If I had put this, I would put this in my top 5.
Okay,
because
there you go.
That's
high praise.
I'm actually someone who works in event management with like that sort of like setting up events and like public relations with people. So I had this very weird experience of seeing Billy. Like seeing him lie and seeing these lies grow, and it's the same thing I've heard from bosses for the past 4 years. Mm-hmm. But except the problem is with the bosses I have, they can lie, and either it's my job to white lie it to people and like make it seem like less big, or like or they lie or they downplay something and they fix it later because we're prepared to, like, if we lie about something now, we're prepared to make it truth later.
Yeah.
With Billy,
he's just a dirtbag.
You see the lies, but like, we're going to have these tents. They're not going to have these tents. And I have immediate flashbacks to us making promises to sponsors and stuff saying, you're going to have this. And instead we maybe don't deliver on like one of the things, and we try and like make it up to them by like replacing with something of equal value.
Yeah.
And just he goes, no, you get like a cheese sandwich and a tent, and I'm like, oh, I'm like having existential panic about this right now.
But it's certainly fascinating.
It's so fascinating
that this actually kind of happened. Not really.
I mean,
but the fact that it went so far as it did, I mean, yeah, you didn't have the musical acts or anything, but...
And then the last part, which people don't talk about, which is him trying again, saying, we have tickets to the Met Gala.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking,
it's great. It's great.
You beautiful man, I hope you get shanked.
Yes. So that's available right now on Netflix. You can watch it. That's my number 10, Fire, on Netflix right now.
Very good.
Number 9, I just said Captain Marvel. We talked about that. Number 8, another Netflix documentary called Knocking Down the House. Now, this is a documentary mostly centered around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but it also follows a few other women from the, midterm elections last year. And it's, no matter what your politics are, this is just a really inspirational story about how, AOC was a bartender, and then she just decided to run for office, and she put the work in, she got elected, and that's what really our government should be about, electing these officials that actually want to be there. She obviously wants change, and, the other few that they follow, very minor parts in the movie, but they all lose, but they're all grassroots campaigns, and they did put up a showing. They did, do their best, and they obviously want change in this country. So you might be annoyed by AOC if you're on the other side of the aisle, but at the same time, it's super inspirational. It made me want to get into politics, even though that's never going to happen. But it's just a really, really good documentary that I think premiered at Sundance, and Netflix picked it up. Definitely give this a watch on Netflix. It's really short. It's 86 minutes. So it's a quick watch, and definitely worth your time.
I'll say this. It seems like currently we're in this good trend of politics movies being good, because we just had Ginsburg. And
RBG, yeah.
Yep, sorry, yeah, RBG. And I know... Wait. Was Vice this year?
Last year.
Vice was last year. Vice, I liked Vice, you didn't.
Did not like Vice.
But I'm enjoying this trend of, like, more of political movies coming out, and it's not just fluff pieces. Like, RBG was kind of fluff, but it was also kind of honest, too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be perfectly honest, we're getting more people who I want to see it about, because you have Sotomayor, the Supreme Court Justice, who is not the same thing as Cortez, but, like, also someone from New York, from, I think, the Bronx, and just, she worked her way up, and she got to the Supreme Court, and she was, like, the first, she wasn't the first woman, she was, like, the first minority woman, I think.
Maybe, yeah.
And so I care about that because it's a very interesting story.
You also have the Beto O'Rourke documentary on HBO, I believe. I haven't watched that one. I think it's called Runnin' with Beto. That's another one that made it on the indie festival circuit. Haven't seen that one, but yeah, Knocking Down the House, really good movie. It's just dragged down by the other three women. Like I do like some of them.
You just care
aspects.
more. You care more about one.
Yeah. I wish it was just about AOC, because it's fascinating how much work she put into it, and how months before she was just a bartender, and even when she started her campaign, she was still bartending at night. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move to 7 to 5. Mike, what's your number 7?
My number 7, if I can get the thing back up, is Glass.
Glass, okay, yeah. So, that just missed my top 10.
So the reason I put it here is because after me and Bobby saw it in a special way, because we saw it premiere night, and we also saw it after we saw Unbreakable and Split.
Yeah.
And we saw it in a trilogy at Alamo Drafthouse.
For free.
Was it? Oh yeah,
for free.
You got this. Yeah, you had the ticket air,
and with M Night there with the live Q&A,
and I won the shirt. Which after you left, and you got jacked by a photo. You couldn't get the photo you wanted.
I couldn't get a photo with that.
But I will say this: I originally left that movie thinking that I liked the way I left that movie was I thought, because I'd seen all three, I liked Split the best, and that's still up top for me.
Yeah.
Then I liked Glass. Then I liked Unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
But I went back and rewatched Glass. And I realized, wow, they really made those characters look like absolute dog shit.
Well,
they drown. This movie's kind of old. Like, the way that movie ends for Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson,
it's not satisfying.
It's not satisfying at all.
But I can understand it, though. It's ballsy the way that they do it.
It's very.
And it's really more of an origin story for the other superheroes that are coming after.
Yes, it is.
So yeah.
I guess this all depends on how this works out with sequel. Like
we're also really spoiling all these movies, aren't we?
We kind of are. Well, I didn't say what happens to those three characters.
Sure.
But like I'm saying well also you can't have a movie review thing if you can't spoil like some of it. I'm trying to like avoid it after I accidentally did the thing with the first one. But it depends on what happens next, because if this is a launching pad, it will feel better because it'll spring up to me. Right. But like if nothing happens and this is how this trilogy of movies ends, I'd be like, that was super disappointing. And that's what. But like the thing that saves it for me from being like a number 10 is that I really enjoyed the acting, because like all three actors are phenomenal.
Great. Even Bruce Willis brings it.
Bruce Willis brings it. I still think that I like Bruce Willis's acting in this more than Unbreakable. But
interesting.
But I think I will prefer Unbreakable over this now.
Okay.
Because you got me back on that train.
I love Unbreakable.
Unbreakable after we talked about it, I rewatched it. It was like
phenomenal. It's my favorite out of the three. And yeah, I really enjoy Glass 2. It's definitely, again, for better or worse, it's another case where M. Night subverts your expectations of what it's going to be.
Yes.
People expected big action set pieces when it's not really that at all.
Which
I think will improve my thoughts on the movie, seeing it a second time when I do revisit it, because now I know what to expect. We didn't really know what to expect when we saw this, so now that I know what's going to happen, I think I'm going to like it a little bit more.
So I think the thing that also got me was after seeing Split, like Unbreakable is this kind of grandiose thing where it's all across Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You see Split, it's in 3 settings. Like the therapist's office, the parking lot of the restaurant, and the underground lair.
Pretty much.
And I guess after seeing that, I was thinking, okay, now we're done with that. What do you mean 3/4 of this movie's in an insane asylum? And like, it's just all the same place. I'm like, okay. And that kind of just bothered me a little bit, but you know, it was a good movie. I wish, like I said, for right now, it's lower on the list for me. But if in 2 years' time, like they do some more superhero stuff, it will feel better to me. This could obviously go up a space or two, and I'd have better things to say about it.
We're definitely in the minority by liking this movie too. Most of the people don't like this movie, and
I didn't hate it.
I liked the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely still on the M. Night train.
Oh no, I still make fun of M. Night, but I still like a lot of his movies.
All right, Mike, number 6.
Number 6 for me is Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Ooh, okay.
All right, so this movie and the next one are very similar to me in the sense that they had great moments, but they, to me, felt very okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that saves Pokemon Detective Pikachu for me is Ryan Reynolds. He's
really
literally like Justice Smith. Is that the main person? Justice Smith is a terrible actor.
I liked him in this movie way more than when Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. He is terrible in that
he's terrible in that, too.
I think he's pretty good in this one.
He's better in this, but I still don't think that... I think when I put him next to Ryan Reynolds, I'm like, you are trash, kid.
Yeah, well...
And it was a fun movie. Yeah. I saw it by myself. I didn't see this with you. No. I saw it by myself in New York City, and I got my Pokemon cards. Ooh, look at this. And super excited. And it was almost like seeing... It was almost like the Scooby-Doo WWE movie in the sense that you see this world behind the movie, and you're like, I want to look what's all around this. I want to see like how this world exists.
Great world building.
Oh, totally great world building, and you don't need to explain it because all the kids know what's going on. Even most of the adults know what's going on who are going to see this. So, like, I love the fact that they don't have to explain what a Pokemon is, like they do at the beginning of every Pokemon movie.
It's just a fun time in the theater. Again, it's kind of like Captain Marvel, even though I like Captain Marvel more. Detective Pikachu, good start. I hope there's more to this. I hope they make more Pokemon movies, because this was, and especially, like I said, the world building is great. And it's a fun story.
It's a return.
It's not going to be a masterpiece, but it's a good time.
It's a return for me because the last time like Nintendo made a movie, I think was honestly the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and they got poisoned the well real hard for them. So they came back, and to give a solid 7 out of 10, and like for me to leave and for me to this day, I'm not going to forget like. Another cup, sweetie. Black as night. Thank you very much. It's like the scream.
Yeah.
There are parts of the movie that are like baked in. Yeah. And that's something that I appreciate. However, if nostalgia helps. Yeah. However, the next movie's nostalgia helps it more.
Sure. And what's your next movie, Mike?
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4, that's your number 5.
Yes.
That's my 6.
Yeah, so we could talk about this.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, I was a Pokemon fan, but I was a bigger Toy Story fan. I enjoyed Toy Story more than Pokemon. And once again, I did not want Toy Story 4.
No, I don't think anybody did.
I still don't think I need Toy Story 4.
Nope.
But I appreciate Toy Story 4.
I do too, and, you know, I think it falls into the same traps as most Toy Story movies, where it hits the same beats as the other ones, where the toys get separated, the other toys have to go and find them. It's kind of the same film in that sense, but you get some great new characters. Although I wish that there was more Buzz in this movie. He seemed like a real idiot. Like, it seems like since the first one, he's gotten less and less in each movie.
I thought he was great in 3.
He was great in
3. Because, like, they made him, like...
But he didn't have an arc.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, he's Spanish Buzz. It's great. It's a great bit.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like, he was used to his full potential.
See, for me, I'm happy Buzz wasn't used as much because this was a Woody movie.
It was.
And I feel like every time you've had a Toy Story movie, you have the Woody arc, you have the Buzz arc, and in the 3, it was like Buzz / the rest arc. And for this, I'm happy that Buzz wasn't a main focus because that allowed Woody to shine. It allowed for the rest of the world to develop.
Yeah. And
while Buzz did have his points, I will think that he did them very well.
And Bo Peep coming back in this movie was great. I thought Annie Potts was really good as Bo Peep. I like where they took that character as well.
Oh, yes.
It's just, again, Pixar doesn't make bad movies. Like, all of them are pretty good.
There's only 2 movies I can think of that could be considered factually bad, and that's Cars 2 and Good Dinosaur.
I haven't seen either. For me, at least, Pixar doesn't make bad movies. There might be a couple stinkers in there.
Cars 3 was great, though. I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. But anyway,
Toy Story 4, I mean, is this the end of the Toy Story movies? Who knows? They might spin off. I don't think you can do another Toy Story movie without
I would be fine
Woody.
if there was like a mini thing on the Netflix, on the Disney Netflix, which is like
they could do it. They can do a show
like they do, Key and Peele and Woody and Bo Peep, like a Bunny and
that could be interesting.
And like saving other toys. Like that'd be kind of cool. Like
I mean, they're doing a Monsters Inc. show.
Yeah,
on the Disney Plus, so it's possible. I think.
Yeah, and I think also, just to be perfectly clear, there was one part that really bothered me in this movie, and it was that they really, really kind of devalued the sense that the toys can't interact with human beings.
Kind of, yeah.
Because there were points where they go, let's put the dad in jail.
Yeah.
And they're just messing and talking to the humans. Like Trixie the dinosaur's talking to the human.
It was really weird.
Buzz Lightyear literally yells at the human, your backpack! I'm like, this is very, very, very weird to me, but I can, appreciate it because they tried it. They tried it, they had a story arc, and they didn't break it, they just bent it.
The movie, I don't think it's a masterpiece like the other 3 are.
3 is
I think 3, the first 3 are, the first one I think is a masterpiece. Even though you watch it back, the animation isn't as great because it's the first computer animated movie ever.
Yeah.
But the story itself is so good. 2 and 3 are great. This is my least favorite Toy Story movie, but at the same time, it's still a great movie.
I'm also going to say this real quick before we move on. 4 is the best looking animated movie I've ever seen.
It's phenomenal.
Like, the fact that the scene in the beginning, and I feel sure I could spoil this because it's implied by the trailers, when Woody and Bo Peep are under the car, and it's raining, and you see Bo Peep's, glossy plastic sort of reflect the light of the rain, and you see Woody, who's supposed to be not felt, but fluff sort of.
Yeah.
And you see how he reflects light, and you see it shining off his eyes because it's plastic. And I'm thinking, oh, this 1994 Toy Story, eat your heart out.
Yeah, you compare them side to side, it's
the humans
literally no comparison.
Sid is horrifying.
It's bad, but what saves that movie is it's still a great story. I love the story.
Oh yes, totally.
So, would you say that Toy Story 4 is your least favorite as well?
Yes,
in the Toy Story franchise?
I would say Toy Story 4 is my least favorite.
All right, so that is your 7 to 5. To get into mine real quick, Number 7, I'm pretty sure is going to be on your top 5. Shazam.
Yes.
Shazam. Really, like, this is great movie.
And we saw this before,
Draft House.
We saw it at Draft House before NXT TakeOver 4 or 5. It was
whichever.
I don't know. And it was that was like, we both enjoyed this.
This is just a really funny movie as well. Yeah. I love what they did with the character, because this is a character that not everybody knows. They did a great job introducing him. I thought the side characters, again, was really, really good. The whole family that, what's his name? The little kid has, Billy... What's Shazam when he's not Shazam? Billy Batson.
Billy
right?
Batson.
Billy Batson's family... His whole thing with his background with his real family and getting adopted into this new one, I thought it was really, really touching. The villain is what it is, right? I mean, the villain isn't that...
The villain had a really good story. It was...
The boardroom scene is unbelievable, though.
The boardroom scene reminds me...
It's insane.
So the boardroom scene is, I think, this generation's Spider-Man 2 hospital scene.
That's fair.
And I think, because I remember when I watched that movie, the doctor screaming and her nails clawing at the ground as the tentacle pulls her into the shadows. That terrified the shit out of me as a kid. And so this one is, them pounding against the door and then the bad thing happens. Mm-hmm. It's horrifying.
It's just really encouraging.
And it shows that, this movie, could have gone farther, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, they kind of... It's a thing where, we saw this a lot of times back in the day, where it would be kind of... Because this is more of a kid's movie. It's not... adult oriented. It has dark aspects to what we would see in older kids movies.
This is the perfect PG-13 movie.
It is. It really is. And I'm just so encouraged that DC's finally getting their act together. Yeah. If they can continue to produce these kinds of movies, I'm so hyped for Joker. Yeah. In October or November, whenever it comes out. If they keep this track record and they don't worry about, linking everything together, if we get these kinds of movies every time out, they're going to be on the right path.
Literally, the only link is at the end.
Yeah, that's it.
And I honestly am happy. The child actors were good. There was the only child actor I really hated was the little sister.
Sure.
And you were kind of annoying, but then
Zach Levi's amazing.
Zach Levi's amazing.
Shazam. He brings that kind of childlike enthusiasm to the character, which is very much needed. Spot on, pitch perfect casting.
The one I think this was my number 4.
Okay.
And I think that it was a bit higher is just because after seeing the schlock of DC, and then I saw it kind of go up with Aquaman, I'm like, okay, you're getting real good now, and it really encouraged me, and it made me feel really good.
I mean, we have Joker this year, and then we have Wonder Woman coming out next year, 84, 85, whatever it is. DC on the right path. I love it. And I would argue that I'm more excited for these upcoming DC movies more than the Marvel movies. And that's just in case also because we don't really have a slate yet.
Yeah, we don't.
We'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks when they have their Comic-Con panel and they release every movie that's going to be coming out. But I'm super excited for these DC movies on the way. So that was my number 7. Number 6 was Toy Story 4. Number 5 is a movie called Booksmart, which is Olivia Wilde's directorial debut. It has Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever. This is... I mean, people compare it to, the female Superbad. Personally, I'm in the minority to where I can't stand Superbad.
You're very much in the minority.
I hate that movie.
I love that movie.
I love this movie. It is so true to, talk about a time capsule of what 2019 is. This is what 2019 is for teenagers. It is so good. Hilarious movie. Not everything clicks. There's a character played by Billy Lord that I don't particularly care for. It's more of a caricature, but it's just really, really good. This is another one of these coming-of-age movies that we've been getting lately that hit the nail on the head.
Is it better than 8th grade?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a shade under 8th grade, but we have 8th grade. We had this movie, Edge of 17. We've had Lady Bird. There's been so many great coming-of-age movies, and all those, by the way, female-led movies. it's just fascinating.
Not 8th grade. That was... I'm sorry, led. You're right.
Yeah, female-led movies.
Sorry, I was thinking Bo Burnham, but he didn't lead it. He just directed.
Character-wise, female-led movies that we've been getting that have just been phenomenal. I love this movie. Nobody saw it, unfortunately.
I didn't see it.
Nobody saw this movie.
I saw the trailer, and I didn't pick up that it was going to be a female Superbad.
But that's what they're comparing it to. I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's kind of lazy because Beanie Feldstein is Jonah Hill's little sister. I think that's, like, the big reason why they're calling it the female Superbad, because,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's original on itself. It's so, so good. And this is why I like having the podcast now, because maybe for a lot of these people that, of you guys that are listening that have never heard of Booksmart, this is a movie you would really, really do yourself a favor in watching. Yeah. It's hilarious. I'm sure it'll be coming out on digital and Blu-ray soon or whatever. Go watch this movie. Support this movie. Booksmart, great movie. My number 5 movie of the year so far. Now, Mike, we're getting into the top 4 now.
Yeah.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 was Shazam. So we already talked about it.
So I'll do my number 4 then.
All right.
Another movie that nobody saw, Late Night. Starring Emma Thompson and Mindy Kaling.
Oh, I saw this. I wanted to see this.
This is a great movie about Emma Thompson's character, who is the only late night female talk show host, and she's been on the air for a while now, going on for like 20-something years or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And her whole writer's room is all males, so she brings in Mindy Kaling to bring a little spice to it, and it's just a really funny movie that reminds me of, kind of reminds me of Devil Wears Prada, in the fact that you get, like, this outsider coming into this industry where she's not really familiar with, because Mindy Kaling in this movie isn't a comedy writer, but she adds something to the team to where she becomes valued and becomes a confidant of Emma Thompson's character, and it's just really, really funny.
I seen the trailers for this on YouTube because it like plays as ads for like this garbage I watch.
It had a really big marketing push and nobody saw it.
So like I'll come out and say it. I hate Mindy Thompson. I don't like her. Like
Mindy Kaling.
Okay. Yeah. I think that her whole spiel in The Office and just like.
Well, she wrote this movie too.
Yeah, and I've never really liked her as an actress because I just always feel like her shtick is just hyperactive, squeaky voice sort of thing.
Sure. But she's very toned down in this movie.
And that's what I saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I was thinking, okay, you're leveling yourself back. You're going a bit more... You're kind of going to Office mode with a little bit of the awkward humor.
Sure.
And just in the trailer, I'm like, I want to see this. I did not get to see it, but like, I'm happy that's good.
In and out of theaters real fast. It's a shame because, again, with this one, with Booksmart, it's these smaller movies, and this is actually a general conversation about comedies in going in theaters. None of them are hitting. None of them are making money. You know, they could be great. It's kind of like Long Shot. I saw Long Shot. That almost made my top 10 as well. That's the Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron movie that came out. It's more like a rom-com.
The journalist one.
Yes.
I wanted to see that too. I didn't know it came out.
It came out. Again, nobody's seen comedies, which is a shame. And, you know, you can call this like the Netflix effect because it seems like a lot of these rom-coms that go on Netflix hit big. People want to see them on their TVs, but they don't necessarily want to go out and pay money to see them on the big screen, which is a shame. But I really like Late Night. Amazon distributed this movie, so you're probably going to be seeing this pop up on Amazon Prime Video very soon.
That's very good.
Which is one of the bigger positives of this movie, that you can access it eventually. But as far as box office wise, it did not do well. Neither did Booksmart, like I said.
That's a shame.
Please go watch these movies. You're not going to regret it. Booksmart at number 5. Late Night at number 4. Mike, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Us.
That's my number 2.
Ooh, we're very close.
We're very close, yeah.
Curious. All right, so...
we don't want to have a big conversation about this, because we can literally have a whole podcast about this movie. It is fascinating.
So going into Us, I hadn't seen... but you got annoyed me for this. I told you I had not seen Get Out, but I had read it.
Yes, and also directed by Jordan Peele.
And I've now subsequently seen Get Out. Mm-hmm. I went Us knowing that it was supposed to, that what his previous work had brought out of people and what it was like.
and what it says about greater society. And there's a lot. Jordan Peele's movies have a lot of subliminal messaging, or in Us, it's kind of straightforward, but there's also little stuff that you can catch in there about, how he talks about societal stuff.
In terms of Us, I went in thinking, okay, it's not going to hit the same points as Get Out, because that would be lazy, and I think that he's a better director than that. I feel like it's not going to be the same sort of cultural appropriation mindset. It's going to be, okay, there's something else going on here. I'm curious. And leaving, me and you in the car talking about it was really fun.
That's when we should have had a microphone. Just talking through what we saw. Yeah. And I think both of us came around to it,
because we both saw different things that the other person hadn't.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. I thought that Us reveals a little bit too much, but at the same time, there's still so much layered in there, kind of like Get Out. Although I don't think anybody's saying that Us is better than Get Out. But at the same time, this is a fantastic movie for me. And I know that you kind of liked it the more that you thought about it, right?
Yeah, I came out of it thinking it was okay. And then we started...
I think both of us did, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, okay. And I was like, man, they just spelled everything out. But then you start talking about it more, and it's like... You start to realize there's layers and other aspects building up the world. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can dig this. The one part, I was like... I will even say, once again, the child actors were great.
Everybody in this movie was
There
great.
was one part I really didn't like, and it was they did really well when they had the same actor on screen in both sides, except for one part, and it's the end when they're in the tunnel, and it's in front of the chalkboard, and it looks super bad.
Can I just say, Elizabeth Moss in this movie, so creepy. When she's cutting her face, that is an image I still think about.
Oh, yeah.
When she's taken over and whatever... the way that she just makes these facial expressions, it is one of the most horrifying things I've seen in a long time. She is everybody in this movie, pitch perfect.
She makes facial expressions, but people, a lot of time actors are criticized for saying their face seems empty, they're making a face. She makes it seem like it's empty, the smile is there's nothing behind the smile in the best way possible.
It's a shame that she's a Scientologist.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she knows how to do creepy.
So I can't praise her too much. Well, that's true. Yeah, she can draw naturally from her creepiness.
And also, real quick, the main actress in this movie,
Lupita Nyong'o.
Did you see the backstage footage of her? She stayed in character when she was in the red suit version.
Oh, I didn't see that.
She would have conversations with Jordan Peele and the set people, in the crackly voice.
That's really...
and she would stay in it. And I'm like, oh.
That must have killed her voice.
Oh yeah, she probably said... the way he shot it, he said, was he did the physically demanding scenes first, and then he would do the
Makes sense.
Other scenes second. And I'm just thinking God, you probably... I would not want to have to do the create her action scenes, the dancing scene, and the next day have to be normal person.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, isn't it?
Oh gosh.
That's what fascinates me about these actors that stay in character. It's how do they do it? And then just naturally transition to being a normal person again.
Well, you have people like Jim Carrey who are dickheads about it.
Oh, yeah. Which, by the way, Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond on Netflix came out a couple years ago about him and Man on the Moon. We're getting sidetracked here. That is probably my favorite documentary of all time.
Interesting.
On Netflix right now.
Interesting.
But yeah, Us.
All right. Us.
Incredible movie. I love this movie. Again, another one that I can't wait to rewatch. I actually saw it twice in the theaters. I saw it with you the first time. Or did I see it?
You saw it the first time with me.
First time with you, and I rewatched it again in theaters. Great, great movie. Highly recommend it. I don't know if it's scary per se.
It's jumpy. You make
it's
fun.
A little jumpy.
You make fun of me in the theater because I jump
hilarious.
A bunch.
It's hilarious.
Because we're sitting next to each other, and then he'll just feel
because I always see it coming and you don't, and you still jump.
No, I see. Yeah, sometimes I see it coming, sometimes I don't. I still jump, and just gets a laugh out of it, even if it's a sudden shift in my movement.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was my number 3.
So that's my number 2.
8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
I'd probably go 9.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's a very good movie.
Love it. But Get Out is literally. It's going to go down as one of the best movies of the 21st century.
Oh, yes.
In my opinion.
So
I love it. It's
so
a
what was
masterpiece.
your 3?
3, I'm not going to go too much into this because unless you've watched the show, you're not going to have any emotional attachment to this movie. Deadwood the Movie.
No.
on HBO. I love this show, and this movie is incredible. This is a show that went like 3 seasons. It got canceled, and it's been like 10 years since, or probably more than that, since the show got canceled. And everybody came back. This is a huge cast. It's got Timothy Olyphant. It's got Ian McShane, Molly Parker. It's a bunch of character actors that you've seen in other things before. But this predates everybody pretty much blowing up. And to get everybody together, it's been years in the making, this movie. To get everybody together was a feat in itself. But then the fact that David Milch, who created, wrote, directed some of the episodes of the show, came back to write the script. It's a different director. It's like they never left. It's a natural progression of the story. I love where it went. It's extremely emotional. It's got the same flavor of the show. So if you watch the show, which I'm sure not many people have because obviously it got canceled short, but if you watch the show and you love the show, this is a must-watch. I love this movie.
Is this the same sort of thing that I hear people talk about with Firefly?
I mean, kind of.
Firefly got a movie, didn't it?
No, it didn't. It got the 1 season and that's it. People have been wanting either a movie or a season, but sometimes you'll see these shows come back in either show form or sometimes even like movies. None of them ever touch the original run. This is arguably just as good, if not better, than the show.
That's very impressive.
It's great. I recommend you guys not only watch the show, or not, well, if you haven't seen the show, there's no point in watching the movie because you're going to be lost.
Yeah.
But watch the show and watch the movie. You're not going to regret it. It's phenomenal. Ian McShane this is probably his best role. It's so good. He nails his character. It's based in like the Old West. It's like the late 1800s.
Yeah.
So, but this one actually picks up it's based in South Dakota.
I've heard about Deadwood in passing conversations.
They don't talk like they're in that kind of timeline. It's kind of like modern talk a little bit. There's a lot of F-bombs, a lot of I'm gonna curse, a lot of cocksuckers being thrown around, especially by Ian McShane's character. Yeah. It's so good. I highly recommend the show. Watch the movie. Deadwood the Movie is my number 3. My number 2 is Us. I'm pretty sure we had the same number 1. We haven't mentioned this movie yet.
But I've seen we kind of did. But I see my number 2 is different, and I see where you put my number 2 on your list.
Okay,
what was your number 2? I'm very annoyed.
What was your number 2?
Rocket Man.
Okay.
You put it as your number 11.
Oh, right. We didn't go over your number 2. My number 11, it barely missed the top 10.
Yeah, we didn't go over my number 2 because, like, we're going back and forth now. Right. But like, your number 11 is Rocket Man. And I'm disappointed.
Listen, I'll defend this, but you speak your piece first.
So for me, we're in the universe, we're in, like, the 80s, like, rocker cinematic universe right now. Because we just have Bohemian Rhapsody, which was good to me. But I think it was good, but I think it was overrated a little bit. I think there was a lot of glaring flaws. There was a lot of glaring flaws in that.
And a lot of good energy. The concert scene at the end is...
that's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But, like, the rest of the movie is just kind of like... It hits a lot of the same tropes as, like, the band's movie. Like, the boyfriend, or the spouse, or, like, love interest, like, separating the band. And then, like, creative differences and all this. And, like, best friend, like, losing family and stuff like that. They're coming back around, having one last show. Yeah. Even though it wasn't the last show, but, you know. It's... Like, so then when I get to Rocket Man, it's the same genre of movie, but it does it so much better.
Yeah.
It does the music better because you have Taron
Egerton. Taron Targaryen. That's a hell of a name.
He won the Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, sure. No spoilers.
You have him... like singing a lot of this because you saw him I saw him in Sing doing like I'm Still Standing, and then you have him singing I'm Still Standing as Elton John, and you have him singing all these songs, and then you have the young actor also doing it. Like, you have these grandiose second music videos, like music videos in the movie, but they're like story driven, and it's not lazy because it's not just the only one that copies the music video in real life is the last one, and it's done for cinematic reason.
Right.
And I just fell in love with this because it didn't shy away from a lot of stuff like Bohemian Rhapsody did. Mm-hmm. It didn't have to go through 3 other people because it's about the Queen band. It's about it was just about him. John. And he was like involved, and he didn't like try and make himself look
didn't really
good.
Sugarcoat himself.
Yeah, and he said it about himself, so he's fine with it. And it just felt like it was something that I want more true to form like this. Yeah. And at the same time, I do think that while Bohemian Rhapsody... the way I saw a reviewer say this, and it stuck with me, but both him and Freddie Mercury have... I'm very bad
Easy for you to say.
They both did drugs, and they were both gay. Or at least he was bi, whatever you want to say. The Queen movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, doesn't show a lot of drugs. It doesn't show... it kind of... you can watch the movie and not really think about him being gay.
Rocketman embraces all
Rocketman embraces them both.
Yeah.
And they go very head-nose into that stuff.
It's a really good movie. Where it falls short for me is it gets into the same kind of tropes that we see in a lot of musical biopics.
Towards the end, for me.
Well, when they start bringing in the manager stuff, and then, yes, at the end... it's just a lot of the same beats as you see in most musical biopics like Bohemian Rhapsody. But where it shines is when it goes fantastical. I love what Dexter Fletcher did, who also came in at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody to pick up from where Bryan Singer left off. We don't know how much he did in the process, but he did direct a little bit of Bohemian Rhapsody. But he directed the hell out of those musical sequences. I love the ending where they pay tribute to I'm Still Standing, the music video. I just wish it was more of the crazy, trippy elements where it's just so far different than what we've seen before, to whereas we get the manager being a dick. We get, certain things here and there. The obligatory musical montage of how he rises to fame. It's those kind of things that it's like, okay, I've seen this before, but Taron Egerton, I think, better than Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Much so.
Even though Rami won the Oscar, I would say Egerton is better than Rami, but I still really, really like the movie. Yeah. And like it's 11. When you've
seen 30-something movies and it's 11, it's still a good movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'll also just say this: the reason the hitting the beats didn't bother me as much is because you have him hating his manager, and then there's the pool scene, which is directly involved from that. Yeah. And then it goes fantastical, and it feels like every time they had to hit a beat, it's like if they do the rise to fame, there was a crazy part of it that kind of enhanced those.
They did the tropes to get to the out there elements.
Yes.
I just wish there was more of it.
Okay.
That's all it is.
That's totally fair.
I mean, that's what my main problem with the movie is. Everything else is really solid.
Yeah.
And again, it barely missed the top 10.
Yeah.
So that was your number 2.
Yeah, and we both have the same number 1. I can guarantee it.
Yeah. What is it, Mike?
It's Endgame.
It is
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame. Come on. I mean, this is the ultimate culmination.
When I first was doing this list, I felt dirty putting it up there because I kind of
felt cheap.
It felt cheap because I was like, of course it is, but this is something I'm gonna remember a lot of this movie.
I will never forget my first time watching this movie.
Yes.
Just like I'll never forget in Infinity War, the ending. Being there with the crowd, seeing everybody react to the snap. It's something I'll never forget. And I'll never forget, I mean, I don't want to... Do we have to not spoil...
Everyone's seen Endgame.
When Tony Stark dies... I'll always remember the reaction. The sniffles around me, I could hear. I mean, everybody was emotional. In that.
The thing about this is that I for the longest time did not see Endgame, and I did not know what Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. I didn't know what that meant, right? And so because I set my
that's Infinity War.
Yeah, and so what I mean is I had not seen Infinity War for the longest time, and. I'm sorry if I said I didn't see Endgame for the longest time. I hadn't seen Infinity War for the longest time. Right. And I was starting to, people were starting to spoil, I was starting to, piece things together. Oh no, I gotta go blast through all these. And I went into this, and then I saw Captain Marvel, and then I was, very caught up, and it felt really good.
It was so good.
And
right?
then like, there's just so, like, the ending of all of the huge fight when everyone just pops up, and it's very much cheap. It's supposed, like, if I was supposed to be Siskel and Ebert, sort of like going through like, it's like so pandering, but it's like, it's great pandering. I'll take a dose of this.
I don't think that's pandering. I think that's rewarding everyone.
The scene
who has watched these movies, seeing everybody together.
You're gonna tell me what Peter Parker handing off the cube or handing off the glove to, I think, Captain Marvel, and then all the women showing up isn't pandering?
That's not... Well, yes, that's pandering. But the big shot of everybody coming back from the snap, we see everybody coming in, and right when Cap goes, what is it, Avengers Assemble? Or something like that? And everybody... Like, come on.
It was better than Infinity War.
If you're not pumping your fist or just getting overly emotional... If
you're not one of those jerks who are clapping in the middle of the theater, something's wrong.
No, it's the male mic.
Oh, I know. No, I meant as in something's wrong with you if you're not one of those people clapping.
Well, that too. There's something wrong with that too.
Oh, if the males come in, something's wrong. I really enjoy this. It was 3 hours. It's very long.
It's very long.
I looked at
3 times in theaters.
It's literally longer than The Godfather, and The Godfather is my standard bearer of long movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually don't mind watching The Godfather.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this was like 3 minutes longer than Godfather, I was like, really?
There's a lot to put in there. But also it's longer credits with this one.
Oh yeah, it is longer credits, and now there's even longer because they put that deleted scene that I don't care.
Well, anyway, but I mean, come on, this is like the series finale of what we've invested all of our years of our lives. With you, it's been a year. But for
I saw like the original. I saw like some of these. I saw the Avengers movies and like the Iron Man movies in theaters, and like I just had to like catch up on the Series 1 and Series 2s. I didn't see most of Series 2. I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy. You know?
So I mean, I love what they did with the time travel stuff. It doesn't make sense. No time travel stuff makes sense.
There's a huge plot hole in it that someone pointed out to me. I was like, I can't think about that.
But listen, no time travel makes sense in any movie. That's just how it is. But I love how they revisit the older Marvel movies, and you get to see, certain characters interact with their older selves. Like the Captain America fight with himself is awesome. There's so many...
That's America's ass.
That is America's ass. There's so many great moments in this film, and it all comes together as one. It comes together as a satisfying finale. It's everything I ever wanted from
You have a giant mark out when it looks like he's about to have a second elevator fight. When Captain America's about to have a second. And then he just
good.
And he's like...
So good.
He's like, Hail Hydra. And everyone's just like, it works. He's like,
I love it.
He loses it. Oh, it's great.
It is. I mean, everybody's seen this movie. And at the same time, it does feel a little cheap to put it at 1, but I legitimately think it is a wonderful movie that, you might not have the same connection to if you haven't seen all the movies, but for anyone who has watched all, I think it's like 22, 23 movies, it's phenomenal.
And
there's no topping.
And now I've just gotta go see the next Spider-Man.
You gotta see. You're behind on that, Mike.
I'm gonna see it. It just came out.
I saw it.
Good for you. You saw it on like opening night on July.
I did not.
You saw it on July 4th.
No, I didn't.
You didn't go July 4th?
No, I didn't. Wait, no. I did.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said you're taking your girlfriend to see it July 4th.
Oh, Mike, don't spread all my news on this podcast. What's the matter with you?
Oh, you have a girlfriend.
And also, the opening night wasn't July 4th. It was like July 3rd. So
I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much, Michael. And thank you for listening. We've come to the end of the podcast, our first episode. Remember when we said we would try to keep this under an hour?
Can I guess how long it is?
Guess.
Hour 30?
Close. We are at 1:28:32.
Guys, yeah.
But listen, we talked about a lot of movies here.
We had 10 movies.
It's not going to be like this every week.
No, it's not.
Next week we're going to have The Lion King. We're going to have a review of that. We're going to get some news. I'm sure we're not going to be talking about The Lion King for an hour.
I don't want to talk about The Lion King. I don't want to talk about The Lion King for 10 minutes.
We'll see what happens.
We'll talk about when we're going to do this.
I mean, when the first reactions came out to that movie on Twitter, it was positive.
It's like a 66 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's lower than that, I think. I think it's at like 59.
Oh, let's go.
And from what I'm hearing, it's my worst fears. But we'll discuss that next week. Mike, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me on the socials. Well, at Picture Perfect Twitter. I don't do.
Well, that's not the name, Mike. It's Pick Perfect Cast
Pick
on
Perfect
Twitter.
Cast, yeah.
And you can find us on Facebook at Picture Perfect.
And you can find me on Twitter at MichaelB_96.
And I'm at Bobby is Gross. Get it? Because my last name is Gross. Bobby is
clever.
Gross. Oh, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. And that's it. Thank you for listening. We would love to hear your feedback. Besides that, this episode is too long. We understand that. We're very well aware that it is too long. But like I said, we're going to keep it to under an hour from here going forward. Thank you for listening, everybody. We hope to hear from you. And stay tuned next week where we review The Lion King. All right?
Yeah, we'll see you then.